Next up, let's work question 1. Web App HA Limited is building a multi-tier application on EC2 instances in an auto-scaling group, single AZ, behind an ALB. A solutions architect needs to make the infrastructure highly available without application modification. Which architecture provides this? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Multi-AZ placement is the HA baseline on AWS. For high availability at the infrastructure level, distributing resources across multiple availability zones, AZs, is crucial. Modifying the auto-scaling group to span multiple AZs ensures that if one AZ fails, the application can continue running on instances in other AZs. The application load balancer should also be configured to distribute traffic across all enabled AZs, automatically routing traffic away from unhealthy instances or failed AZs. Hi guys, Stack Lessons here. Got another 10 for you? This one's on shared storage and HA design, hybrid cloud gateways, and scaling and cost automation. Quick countdown of 6 seconds per question, then the answer. Pause if you need more time on any of them. Keep a running tally. We compare scores in the comments afterwards. Let us keep moving. Question 2. The wording is the clue. SharePoint Migrate Corp has an extensive Microsoft SharePoint setup on premises that depends on Microsoft Windows shared file storage. They are moving this to AWS and need a highly available storage solution that integrates with Active Directory for access control. Which AWS service is most appropriate? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Windows, SMB, Active Directory. 3 words that eliminate 3 options. Amazon FSx for Windows File Server is specifically designed to provide fully managed, highly reliable, and scalable file storage accessible via the SMB protocol. It natively supports Windows file system features and can integrate seamlessly with an existing Microsoft Active Directory, either on-premises or AWS Managed Microsoft AD. This allows for user authentication and access control using existing AD identities, making it ideal for migrating SharePoint workloads. Now, let's get into question 3. Quick check. Container Pro Corp wants to run its critical applications in containers to achieve scalability and availability. They prefer to focus on application maintenance and do not want the responsibility of provisioning or managing the underlying infrastructure like EC2 instances that runs the containerized workload. Which AWS service should they use? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. No EC2 management means Fargate, full stop. AWS Fargate is a serverless compute engine for containers that works with both Amazon ECS and Amazon EKS. When using Fargate with ECS, AWS manages the underlying infrastructure, including provisioning, patching, and scaling of servers. This allows the company to deploy and run containers without managing EC2 instances, meeting their requirement to minimize infrastructure management. Time for another one. Question 4. One answer is too broad. ECMDB Performance Inc. runs a multi-tier e-commerce web app on AWS. EC2 instances, RDS for MySQL multi-AZ with 2 TB GP3 EBS. Database performance degrades during high demand. CloudWatch logs show app performance degrades when read-write IOPS exceed 20,000. How can a solutions architect improve application performance? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option B. GP3 tops at 16,000 IOPS. This workload needs more. While GP3 volumes offer good baseline performance and allow provisioning IOPS independently of size, up to a limit, If consistent IOPS above what GP3 can provide reliably for the workload are needed, provisioned IOPS SSD volumes, IO1 or IO2 block express, are the solution. These volumes are designed for IO-intensive workloads like databases requiring sustained high IOPS performance. You can provision a specific number of IOPS, e.g., 20,000 in this case, to ensure the database can handle the peak demand without performance degradation due to I/O constraints. Time for another one. Question 5. Spot the narrowing word. Innovatak Corp's CRM, hosted on EC2 instances, accesses an Amazon Aurora MySQL cluster using credentials currently stored in local configuration files. To bolster security and streamline credential updates, what approach should a solutions architect recommend for managing these database credentials with minimal manual intervention? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. Automatic rotation for RDS narrows this to one service. AWS Secrets Manager is specifically designed to manage, retrieve, and rotate secrets such as database credentials. Its automatic rotation capability significantly reduces the operational overhead associated with manual credential updates and enhances security by regularly changing passwords. While Systems Manager Parameter Store can store secrets, Secrets Manager offers more advanced features like native integration with RDS for rotation, making it ideal for minimizing operational overhead in this scenario. 5M Managed Services swept it. FSX for Windows SMB, Fargate for serverless containers, Secrets Manager for native RDS rotation. Ready? Question 6. One detail changes the answer. Cert Expiry Notifier hosts web applications on AWS using elastic load balancers with certificates imported into AWS Certificate Manager, ACM. Their security protocol mandates notification 30 days prior to the expiration of any of these imported certificates. How can a solutions architect automate this notification? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. Config detects drift. EventBridge routes it, SNS fires the alert. AWS Config can continuously monitor AWS resource configurations, including ACM certificates. A managed config rule like ACM times certificate papers synacheck, or a custom rule can identify certificates nearing expiration. When a certificate becomes non-compliant, e.g., expiring within 30 days, AWS Config can trigger an Amazon EventBridge event. This event, in turn, can invoke an Amazon SNS topic to send notifications to the security team, automating the alert process. Ready? Question 7. The wrong answers are close. Web App Hosting Co. recently scaled its web application by duplicating its single EC2 instance and EBS volume setup into a second availability zone, placing both setups behind an application load balancer. Users now report an inconsistent view of their uploaded documents. Sometimes they see one subset, sometimes another, but never all documents simultaneously. What should be proposed to ensure users consistently see all their documents? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. Multi-attach doesn't span AZs and stickiness just hides the gap. Amazon Elastic File System, Amazon EFS, provides scalable, shared file storage that can be accessed concurrently by multiple EC2 instances across different availability zones. By migrating the documents to EFS and modifying the application to use EFS, both EC2 instances can read from and write to the same shared file system, ensuring users see a consistent view of all their documents regardless of which instance serves their request. Let us switch gears. Question 8. Look for the constraint that matters. Legacy Backup Migrate has 700 terabytes of backup data on network-attached storage, NAS, in its data center. This data needs to be accessible for infrequent regulatory requests and must be retained for 7 years. The company plans to migrate this data to AWS within 1 month. Their public internet connection has 500 NAC orgasm for dedicated bandwidth available for this transfer. What is the most cost-effective method to migrate and store this data? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option A. Run the bandwidth math before picking a transfer method. For transferring a very large dataset, 700 TBA within a tight time frame, 1 month, over a limited internet connection, 500 nakabud, what nighted internet connection, 500 nakabuds, and what NACOs or Udacite some things, and Idasit. AWS Snowball Edge devices are the most efficient and cost-effective for the initial data ingest. Once the data is in Amazon S3, using an S3 lifecycle policy to transition it to S3 Glacier Deep Archive is the most cost-effective storage option for long-term archival, 7 years with infrequent access. Let's slow down here. This one is all about the math. So let's run the numbers. Imagine you have a fire hose that can push 500 megabits a second. Sounds fast. But 700 terabytes at that speed takes about 130 days. Your deadline is 30. That's where Snowball Edge devices come in. You order physical drives, AWS ships them, you fill them up. The data arrives at AWS in weeks, not months. And once it's in S3, storage cost is the next trap. S3 standard runs about $15,000 a month for 700 terabytes. Glacier Deep Archive drops that to around $700. Over 7 years? Over 7 years. That's a $1.3 million bill versus $58,000. The question rewards the combination. Snowball to beat the deadline, Glacier Deep Archive to beat the storage bill. Keep your focus here, question 9. Several choices sound plausible. Demo and Scaling is designing a software demonstration environment on EC2 instances in an auto scaling group behind an ALB. The system sees significant traffic during work hours but is not needed on weekends. Which 2 actions ensure the system scales for demand and minimizes weekend costs? Choose 2. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answers are option C and option E. 2 answers needed, and spot is the obvious wrong bait. A target tracking scaling policy, e.g. based on average CPU utilization, allows the auto scaling group to dynamically adjust the number of EC2 instances during working hours to meet fluctuating demand, ensuring performance. E. Scheduled scaling actions are ideal for predictable changes in demand, like weekends. By scheduling the auto-scaling group's minimum, maximum, and desired capacity to 0 over the weekend, you ensure no instances are running and incurring costs when the environment is not needed. Another scheduled action can scale it back up for the work week. Let's break down this one. 2 different scaling tools are doing 2 very different jobs here. Imagine a demo environment, packed with traffic 9 to 5 on weekdays, dead silent all weekend. 2 auto-scaling tools solve 2 different problems here. Target tracking picks a metric you care about, say keeping CPU below 60%, and automatically adds or removes instances to hit that number. That handles unpredictable work hour spikes. Scheduled scaling is different. You set desired capacity to 0 every Friday night. 0 instances, 0 cost. On Monday morning, a second schedule restores the numbers. The trap is thinking spot instances alone fix the weekend cost. They don't. Spot cuts the hourly rate, but you're still paying for hours you don't need. The question rewards knowing that dynamic demand and predictable off hours each need their own tool. Keep your focus here, question 10. Do not answer a different question. Hybrid Storage Access Corp. has several on-premises Internet Small Computer Systems interface, ISCSI, day, network storage servers that are nearing capacity. The company wants to reduce its reliance on these on-premises servers by leveraging AWS cloud storage. A key requirement is to provide low-latency access to frequently used data for on-premises applications while also reducing the dependency on local server capacity. This must be achieved with a minimal number of changes to the existing infrastructure and application access patterns. Which AWS storage gateway configuration is most suitable for this scenario? Select one answer. Review the answer choices on screen. The correct answer is option D. The mode name tells you where the primary data lives. AWS Storage Gateway's Volume Gateway, when configured in cached volumes mode, is designed precisely for scenarios where companies want to extend their on-premises storage to the cloud while maintaining low latency access to frequently used data. In this mode, your primary data is stored durably in Amazon S3, and a configurable portion of your recently or frequently accessed data is cached locally on the gateway appliance, virtual or hardware, on-premises. On-premises applications can continue to access this data via the ISCSI protocol, just as they would with traditional ISCSI storage arrays, thus minimizing infrastructure changes. This solution effectively reduces dependency on on-premises server capacity while ensuring performant access to active data. Here's the one that trips people up. Two very similar volume gateway modes with one critical difference. Imagine your file server is 90% full. You want to move to the cloud, but your apps still expect to connect via ISCSI, the standard block storage protocol for on-premises servers. Volume Gateway speaks ISCSI natively, so no application changes are needed. The trap is the mode. Stored mode keeps all primary data on premises and only backs up to S3. That doesn't free up local capacity. Cathode mode flips it. Primary data lives in S3, and only your recently used files stay cached on premises. Say your team accesses the same 500 GB of active project files every day. Those stay fast and local. Everything else lives in the cloud. The question needs local capacity relief. That's cached mode, not stored. 3 takeaways from this session. First, when 500 Mbps can't clear 700 TB in a month, Snowball is the only answer the math allows. Second, cached volumes store primary data in S3. Stored volumes keep it on premises. The mode name tells you which third pair scheduled scaling to 0 on weekends with target tracking for intraday swings, not spot. Multi-AZ through ISCSI cache volumes. You just climb the full storage stack. Any gap you felt is exactly where the exam places its hardest bets. Lock those distinctions in. Quick one before you leave. Subscribe so the next set finds you and so YouTube puts these in front of more learners. Comment your score and any question you want explained further. Want a specific exam next? Drop it below. And if the pace or visuals could be better for you, I genuinely want that feedback.